Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. Today's video is all about weight loss and what to do or where to look when you're not losing weight but you're eating a really healthy diet.
So a few weeks ago we asked this question in our group. We were asking how everyone was going with their weight loss and what their struggles were. And we saw a really common pattern that, a lot of people were experiencing a lot of good weight loss with the paleo diet, and that is so exciting. But then there were a few people that were saying despite eating clean, they're just not seeing the results that they're after. Maybe they're trying to lose like the last couple of kilos.
Yeah, a lot of the time it's like that last little bit is just not shifting.
Yeah, so today we want to look into 5 underlying causes that could be stopping you from losing weight or really keeping that stubborn weight on despite eating clean and, eating a really good whole foods diet.
So the first reason that you may not be losing weight that we want to cover is chronic stress. Now, we spoke about stress recently in our adrenal fatigue and burnout video, so if you're interested in stress management and the effects of stress on the body, highly recommend you looking at that video. But a quick overview of stress, we encounter stress in our everyday lives far more than our body is designed. We were meant to encounter really acute moments of stress where we had to run or avoid something to save our life, and then we had prolonged periods of being very calm. Whereas today, you can go to work and be stressed and stressed and stressed all day long, and that's what we call chronic stress. The effects on our body are numerous, but when it comes to weight loss, constantly spiking those stress hormones, in particular cortisol, can really play havoc on our hormones, other hormones in the body, and also our blood sugar.
So in particular, high cortisol levels have been correlated with higher visceral fat. So that's that fat that hangs around your tummy.
And it can be the dangerous type of fat too that hangs in around your organs.
So it's really that visceral and abdominal fat that we're looking at. So it's really interesting. Cortisol, when it's high, tends to relocate the triglycerides to that area. So if you notice that is where you are storing your fat, or storing more than other places, you could look towards really reducing your stress levels, trying to get that cortisol back down.
Yeah, that's so creepy, isn't it?
It
takes the fat and then puts it
like
where you don't want
remobilize it.
Exactly where no one wants it. Some other ways that chronic stress can impact weight loss and holding on to weight is that it can also play into our thyroid function. So our thyroid we'll get into a little bit later, but it's a really hormonal control center. So chronic stress can really depress our thyroid function, and being stressed can also really increase our hunger and our cravings for sweet foods.
Yeah.
So, when you're under stress at work, you're often grabbing for chocolates and things far more than you normally would. And that can really contribute to stubborn weight and weight gain.
So the thing is, when we're looking at stress, we're not just looking at the mental stress, there's also those hidden stresses that we were talking about in our previous video. Especially one that a lot of people encounter when they're trying to lose weight is over-exercising. And in particular, doing a lot of things like running or really intense, CrossFit every single day. That can be really overstressing on the body, and that can really peak our cortisol.
Have you ever seen as well, often you see like endurance athletes or like long distance cyclists can tend to have like that little belly?
Yeah.
It's like the cortisol
belly.
Like fit, but it was a very stressful endurance sport, so it would be peaking that cortisol all the time. And it was really interesting. In our Facebook group, a lot of ladies were saying that once they'd come away from CrossFit or reduced their workouts a bit, they actually saw more results with weight loss.
So it's really
it just goes to show that too much is not, more is not always better.
The body really needs that rest period. So even if you want to do like a really intense workout, it's just keeping that nice and balanced.
It's just like not doing it every day, which I'm sure can like get hard once you get addicted to it.
So the second point that we're going to talk about is the health of our gut, in particular gut dysbiosis. So this is when the bad bacteria and yeast start to outnumber the good guys, and we get this imbalance in our gut flora. It's really interesting how our gut flora actually has been shown to impact our weight. So studies in overweight and lean people have found that there's a difference in these two dominant strains of bacteria in our gut. So those strains are known as Firmicutes and Bacteroides. So we find that the ratio is different between between overweight and lean people, and that's a really good hint that our gut bacteria has a role in our weight.
So it's thought that the way this actually works is that some bacteria actually, the word they use is that they harvest more calories from food than others, and then they also affect how much energy is expended versus how much is stored. So you could have some bacteria in there that are harvesting extra calories and storing them in ways that you would prefer they would not. So, you know, looking at the gut balance is a really important part of not only overall health but also weight. So if you notice that you just tend to store a lot of fat even though you're eating really clean, it's another hint to look at the gut.
And there's also that little bit of anecdotal evidence that's really interesting when people get fecal transplants. So you could have someone that's really overweight and then they give them a fecal transplant, so that's essentially taking their poop and the bacteria that is in a lean person's gut, and when you put that into the gut of an overweight person, they suddenly lose all that weight. It's
And they do it,
crazy.
in a lot of animal studies as well, but in humans we can even see it through things like that. And the other point with having a dysbiosis is, of course, if you have too many yeasts like Candida overgrowing in the gut, that can also lead to cravings for more sugar, things that feed yeasts. So that's another way that you can be putting on weight due to an imbalance in your gut. So the third reason that you may not be losing weight, even though you're eating clean, is that you may have a leaky gut. So continuing on the theme of the gut and gut health, a leaky gut is basically the result of the gut lining becoming impaired. So the tight junctions, or the junctions between cells that line our gut, so those tight junctions, they come apart, and so then the foods that come through our gut, through our intestine, that are meant to be kept away from our bloodstream actually leak through. So they leak through these tight junctions that have come apart, and this can cause widespread inflammation through our body because undigested food particles and endotoxins and things from bacteria are slipping through into our bloodstream when they shouldn't. So this can trigger all kinds of immune responses, food sensitivities, you name it. There's so many health conditions that arise from having a leaky gut, having that inflamed digestive tract.
So there was also a really interesting study that looked at the connection between leaky gut and visceral fat. So they're thinking that the underlying cause of this could be the bacterial endotoxin. So endotoxin is a part of the bacteria that can slip through when you have a leaky gut, and it causes inflammation. So they're thinking that local inflammation causes storage of fat around our visceral organs. So there's also another way that a leaky gut can potentially cause weight gain, and this is through causing a leaky brain. So this is when the blood-brain barrier actually becomes leaky because we've got so much systemic kind of low-grade inflammation in our body. And when this happens, the brain can become inflamed, in particular a part of the brain called our hypothalamus. And when this happens, it becomes resistant to the effects of leptin. So leptin is a hormone that basically tells us when we're full. So when we're not receiving that message, we can have a kind of dysregulated appetite and a greater appetite. So even though you're eating clean foods, you might just be eating too much because
you're not getting that signal to slow down and stop. It's not like you have to be overeating a lot to put on the weight either. Like, you could just be eating that percentage too much,
and just over time,
like, the weight just is gaining because you're not self-regulating as you should.
And especially on a paleo diet where calories and calorie counting is not emphasized, you're really relying on your hunger hormones to be balanced and to be telling you the right thing, you know, the right amount of food to eat. So the fourth reason that you might not be losing weight is that you have an underlying thyroid imbalance, and this is actually really common, especially in women. So the thyroid plays a big role in regulating our metabolism, and having a low thyroid hormone actually leads to a lower resting energy expenditure, or a lower BMR. So when you're just sitting doing nothing, you're burning less energy than you should be. So there are a number of causes of hypothyroidism. You could have an autoimmune condition or Hashimoto's. Also, some other underlying factors that could be causing hypothyroidism is high stress and a deficiency in certain nutrients, so things like iodine and selenium. But of course, if you do suspect that you have hypothyroidism, you should definitely work with someone who can order those lab test results with you, and that will usually be a holistic doctor, because a lot of regular doctors won't order the full panel to have a really good look at your thyroid hormones.
So our fifth and final reason why you may not be losing weight but you're eating really clean is that you're not getting enough sleep, or you're getting poor sleep quality. So this really plays back into our first point around chronic stress. Not getting enough sleep can really dysregulate your cortisol production, which can have all of these negative knock-on effects for, again, your thyroid, blood sugar, and for other hormones in the body, which can contribute to weight gain. So the other point around not getting enough sleep or having poor sleep is that it can really mess with your hunger signaling. So your hormones ghrelin and leptin, you may have heard of before, these can become out of whack when you're not getting enough sleep. So this can mean higher production of ghrelin, which is our hormone that signals that we're hungry. And then you can also have lower production of leptin, which is our fullness signaling. So definitely don't want an imbalance in those hormones.
So you definitely want to be trying to get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. And we actually have another video on this channel with some of our top tips for a good night's sleep, so we will definitely link that in the info box below.
Actually, we talk about sleep a fair bit. We did a recent article on the blog as well about our evening routines, and that was a video as well. Okay guys, so those were our 5 reasons you might not be losing weight while you're eating really healthy. If you have any questions or comments in relation to this video, please leave them below, especially if you have any other tips that have worked for you in this little problem. We'll also note that we have a full article listing out these points in detail on our blogs, so that will be in the description box. And if you want to join our Facebook community and talk about these topics in more detail with us and with other women who are looking to improve their health and well-being, then please join us. We'll accept you as soon as we can.
So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in our next one, guys. Bye.